woman. Since my son married you into the family, there has not been peace. My grandchildren has been dying. What kind of a wife are you? Ma'am, I am so sorry for the pain I am causing since I came in. I know it's my fault, but I just can't prove it yet.
They named me ylng, child of sorrow. But for 25 years, I was the family's luck. Then I got married to a billionaire, and within 1 year, 7 children died. I realized my name wasn't a curse. It was a ticking bomb, the Lady of Bad Luck. The name that lied. In the heart of Lagos, there lived a girl named Ibionu Adana Okonkwo. Ibionu. In the old Igbo dialect of her great-grandfather's village, it meant child born into the shadow of grief. It was a heavy name, the kind of name that mothers whispered with apology and enemies sharpened into weapons. Yet, for the first 25 years of her life, Ibionu had been the luckiest person in Nigeria. She won scholarships she never applied for. She found money on the street, not small change, but crisp 5,000 naira notes folded into shapes of butterflies. When she wrote her JAM exam, she guessed every answer for the last 10 questions because she ran out of time and scored 287. Her father called her Chi the magician. Her mother called her Naoma the good mother, because wherever Ibionu walked, the shadow of fortune followed. She was not a classic beauty by Lagos standards. She was too tall for a woman, too dark-skinned for the bleaching creams, and her laughter was too loud, like a cracked church bell. But she had something else. Presence. When Ibionu entered a room, the temperature shifted. Stubborn bulbs flickered to life. Old men suddenly remembered their youth. Babies stopped crying. Her family was poor, not the picturesque poverty of Nollywood movies with thatched roofs and goats, but the grinding, rusty-nail poverty of a single-room apartment in a jagunal, where the rain found its way in through the walls. Her father was a retired civil servant whose pension was paid in arrears. Her mother sold fried yams by the roadside, waving away exhaust fumes from Danfo buses. The Ibionu changed things. At 17, she built a small business selling recharge cards from a wooden kiosk. Within 2 years, that kiosk became a phone accessories shop. Within 4, she had a small electronics store in Computer Village. She was rich by Ajagunal standards, but still a peasant by the standards of the family she would soon marry into. She never thought about marriage. Men came and went, a pastor's son who wanted her to quit business and cook, a university lecturer who borrowed money and never returned it, a flashy hustler who drove a Lexus with expired documents. None of them stuck. So when the call came from the Aid Williams family, Ibionu laughed so hard she choked on her puff-puff. "The Aid Williams?" she said to her mother, wiping tears from her eyes. "As in the oil and gas Aid Williams? The ones with the private jet and the house in London?" Her mother, a woman named Nephews, whose hands were cracked like dry earth, nodded solemnly. They sent a delegation. 7 cars. Chief Aid Williams himself came. He said his son, Temiliad, saw your picture in a magazine and refused to look at any other bride. Ibionu stared at the cracked ceiling of their apartment. A lizard blinked at her. "This is a joke." "It is not a joke, my daughter. They are coming for the formal introduction on Saturday. I have already borrowed pots from 3 neighbors." The Golden Cage. Temilad Aid Williams was the 3rd son of Chief Adebayo Aid Williams, a man whose wealth was so old that his father had been a friend to the colonial governor. The family owned 2 oil blocks, a shipping line, and a bank that had once collapsed and been resurrected like Lazarus. They lived in a compound in Ikoyi that was less a house and more a walled city, 20 bedrooms, a swimming pool shaped like the map of Nigeria, and a separate wing for important guests that included 2 former presidents. Temilad himself was 42 years old, a widower whose first wife had died in a car crash on the 3rd mainland bridge 5 years earlier. He was handsome in the way that wealthy men who don't have to try are handsome, soft hands, a calm voice, and the confidence of someone who has never had to beg for anything. He had no children from his first marriage, a fact that his mother, Mama Aid Williams, mentioned at every family gathering with the same tone women use when discussing miscarriage. When Temilade met Ibionu for the first time at the introduction ceremony, he looked at her for a long moment. Then he smiled. "You are not what I expected," he said. "What did you expect?" she asked, her loud laugh filling the room. "Someone who would try to impress me. You are just sitting there, eating your pounded yam like I am a commoner." She shrugged. "I am hungry, and you are just a man. So?" He laughed, a genuine, surprised laugh that made his mother frown. Mama Aid Williams had wanted her son to marry a billionaire's daughter from Port Harcourt, a girl with Swiss bank accounts and a degree from Oxford. Instead, he had chosen a market woman from a Jeguinol, whose name meant bad luck. The wedding was small by Aid Williams standards, only 500 guests. It was held at the family's private beachfront estate. Ibionu wore a coral bead dress that weighed more than she did, and for a few hours, she believed that her luck had finally brought her home. But the first sign of trouble came during the prayer session. An old white-haired prophet from the Cherubim and Seraphim Church stood up to bless the couple. He was a shriveled man with eyes that seemed to look at things no one else could see. When he raised his hands over Ibionu, he froze. His arms dropped to his sides. His face turned the color of ash. "This woman," he whispered, loud enough for the front rows to hear. "This woman carries a covenant. It is sleeping now, but marriage will wake it." Mama Aid Williams grabbed the prophet's arm. "What covenant? What are you talking about?" The prophet pulled away, shaking his head. He refused to say another word. He packed his Bible and left the wedding without eating a single spoon of rice. Ibionu laughed it off. "Old man is just hungry for attention," she told her new husband. Temilade kissed her forehead. "Ignore him. You are my blessing." But the prophet was not wrong. He was just early. The first death, 3 weeks after the wedding, Ibionu moved into the Aid Williams compound. Her new family was a sprawling dynasty. Chief Adebayo had 4 wives, though only 2 were legally recognized, 21 children, and so many grandchildren that no one had an exact count. The compound hummed with the noise of wealth, the grinding of generators, the splash of the swimming pool, the constant ringing of phones conducting business in 4 different currencies. Ibionu was assigned the East Wing, a 3-bedroom suite with its own terrace overlooking the lagoon. She hired a cook, a driver, and 2 personal assistants. She bought clothes from designers she had never heard of. She learned to eat with the correct fork and to speak in the soft, measured tones of the wealthy. But she quickly noticed something strange. Her husband's nieces and nephews, the children of his many brothers and sisters, were everywhere. They played in the hallways, screamed during video calls, and demanded constant attention. There were 15 of them under the age of 12, a riot of noise and sticky fingers. And they all seemed strangely drawn to Ibionu. They would follow her around the compound like ducklings. They would sit at her feet while she read. The youngest, a 3-year-old girl named Demilila, would only stop crying if Ibionu held her. The oldest, an 11-year-old boy named Farouk, wrote Ibionu a poem about her eyes and slipped it under her door. "They love you," Temilade observed, amused. "They don't even love their own mother like that." Ibionu smiled, but something prickled at the back of her neck. The children's affection felt too intense, too desperate, as if they were clinging to her not out of love, but out of a need she could not name. The first death happened on a Tuesday. Demilila, the 3-year-old, had been perfectly fine in the morning. She ate her cereal, threw a tantrum about wearing a blue dress instead of pink, and laughed when Ibionu tickled her ribs. By noon, she was running a fever. By 2 o'clock, her lips had turned blue. By 4, she was dead. The doctors called it acute malaria with respiratory complications. But malaria did not kill a child in 4 hours. Malaria did not make a toddler's eyes turn completely white, like boiled eggs, before she stopped breathing. The compound went into mourning. Mama Aid Williams wailed so loudly that neighbors called the police, thinking someone had been murdered. Damilola's mother, a quiet woman named Kemi, who was married to Temelade's older brother, collapsed and had to be sedated. Ibionu held the body for an hour before they pried it away. She did not cry. She felt cold. Not the cold of sadness, but the cold of recognition. Something had happened. Something she could not explain. That night, as she lay in bed, Temelade whispered, "The prophet at our wedding. He said something. About a covenant." "Don't," Ibionu said. "Don't make this about me." He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "They are already talking. The family. They are saying you brought this." "Brought what?" "A fever?" "Bad luck," he said. "Your name, Ibionu. Child of sorrow. They are saying it has finally woken up." The lady of bad luck. 2 months later, the second child died. His name was Chuka, a 7-year-old boy with a lazy eye and a talent for drawing. He was the son of Temelade's youngest sister, a woman named Adaze who lived in the guest house with her husband. Chuka had been playing football in the compound's artificial turf when he stopped mid-kick, dropped to his knees, and began to vomit blood. He was dead before the ambulance arrived. This time, the doctors could not agree on a cause. The hospital report said, sudden cardiac arrest, but Chuka had no history of heart problems. The private pathologist hired by Chief Adebayo said ingestion of a toxic substance, but the toxicology screen found nothing. The family gathered in the main living room, a cavernous space with chandeliers from Italy and sofas from France. 100 people stood in silence, their eyes drifting toward Ibionu like compass needles pointing north. "It is her," someone whispered. It was Mama Aid Williams's younger sister, a woman known only as Auntie Bisi. "She is eating the children. Look at her eyes. They are too calm." Ibionu heard her. The room was silent enough to hear a pin drop on the Persian rug. She turned slowly, her face a mask of forced composure. "Auntie Bisi," she said, her voice steady. "With all due respect, I did not eat anyone. I am not a witch. I am a businesswoman from a Jagignol who married into this family 3 months ago. I do not know why these children are dying, but I can assure you, it is not me." Auntie Bisi was not convinced. "Then explain the name." "Ibionu, child of sorrow. Your own family named you that. They knew what you were." Ibionu's mother-in-law, Mama Aid Williams, stepped forward. Her eyes were red from crying, but her voice was cold as a steel blade. "My son married you against my advice. I prayed, I fasted, but the prophet warned us. I will not let you kill all the children in this house. You will sleep in the guest house tonight. And tomorrow, we will find a man of God to deal with you." Temelade tried to intervene, but his mother silenced him with a look that had cowed billionaires and politicians. "Do not defend her, Temi. Not until we know the truth." Ibionu packed a small bag and moved to the guest house. She did not sleep. She sat on the edge of the bed, staring at her reflection in the dark window. For 25 years, her name had been a joke. Her luck had been so good that she had laughed at the old women who clutched their pearls and whispered about curses. But now the luck was gone. In its place was something ancient and hungry. She remembered her grandfather, Papa Okonkwo. He had died when she was 7, a tall, stooped man with tribal marks on his cheeks and a Bible perpetually in his hand. He had been the one to name her. Her mother had wanted to call her Kiamaka God is beautiful, but Papa Okonkwo had insisted on Ibionu. He had refused to explain why. "It is a family name," he had said. It carries power. Ibionu had thought he meant spiritual power, prayer power, the kind that made the elders of the village tremble when they entered the shrine. Now she realized he had meant something else entirely. The harvest. By the end of the 3rd month, 5 children were dead. The 3rd was a 4-month-old baby, a girl named Simazola, who died of sudden infant death syndrome, even though she had been healthy and laughing an hour before. The 4th was a 9-year-old boy, Dapo, who drowned in the shallow end of the swimming pool, a pool that was only 3 feet deep, where a 9-year-old should have been able to stand with his head above water. The 5th was a pair of twins, a boy and a girl, aged 6, who died within hours of each other, the boy from a seizure, the girl from a stroke that ruptured a blood vessel in her brain. 7 deaths, 7 children, in 1 year. The Aid Williams compound became a morgue. The laughter of children was replaced by the wailing of mothers. The smell of jollof rice was replaced by the smell of incense and tears. Chief Adebayo, a man who had survived coups and business collapses, began to drink heavily. Mama Aid Williams stopped eating. The surviving children were sent away to boarding schools, to relatives in America, to any place that was not the compound. But they kept dying. Even the ones he left. A 12-year-old nephew, Yinka, died in a boarding school in England. The school said it was meningitis. The autopsy said it was a brain aneurysm. Yinka had never had a headache in his life. A 5-year-old niece, Adaze, named after her mother, died in her sleep at her grandmother's house in Ibadan. The grandmother, a deaconess in the Redeemed Christian Church of God, swore that the child had been fine at bedtime and cold by morning. By the time the 1-year anniversary of Ibionu's wedding arrived, 7 children were dead. The family held a secret meeting without inviting her. She only found out about it because her personal assistant, a young woman named F, who was loyal to a fault, eavesdropped and recorded the conversation. "She must go," Auntie BC said. "If we have to drag her to the village and tie her to a stake, she must go. She is a witch. She has covenanted with death, but we have no proof." Temilad's older brother, a lawyer named Olimide, argued, "We cannot just accuse a woman of killing children without evidence. The police will not accept her name means bad luck as probable cause." Temilad spoke last. His voice was barely a whisper. "I love her, but I cannot watch more children die. If she stays, I am complicit. Let me talk to her. Give me 1 more week." The family agreed. That night, Temilad came to the guest house. He found Ibionu sitting in the dark, her phone on the floor beside her. She had been scrolling through photos of the dead children: Demilala, Chuka, Simasola, Dapo, the twins, Yinka, Adaze. Their faces stared up at her from the screen, frozen in happier times. "It is me," she said before he could speak. "I know it is me. I don't know how. I don't know why, but it is me." Temilad sat beside her. He took her hand. "Tell me everything, from the beginning." And she did. She told him about the prophet at their wedding, about the strange affection the children had shown her, about the cold feeling she had felt when Demilala died, about her grandfather, Papa Okonkwo, and the cryptic words he had spoken before his death. "The name carries power. I need to go to my village," she said. "I need to find the origin of my name. Someone knows what my grandfather did. Someone must know." Temilad nodded slowly. "I will come with you." "No," she said. "If the children keep dying while we are gone, the family will kill me. Literally. I need you here, pretending I am still in the guest house. I will go alone. I will travel at night. I will be back within 3 days." He kissed her forehead. "Be careful. If you die, I will have nothing left." She smiled a sad, fragile smile. My name is Ibionu, remember? Child of sorrow. I have never died before. I don't intend to start now. The village of the old gods Ibionu travelled by night, as she had promised. She took a bus from Lagos to Onitsha, a journey of 8 hours through roads that were more pothole than pavement. From Onitsha, she took a motorcycle taxi to the village of Umidem, a small community nestled in the hills of Anambra State, where her grandfather had been born and buried. Umidem was not on any map. The roads were red dirt. The houses were mud and thatch, and the only source of electricity was a single generator that ran for 2 hours each evening. The people spoke a dialect of Igbo so thick that Ibionu, who had grown up speaking English and Pidgin, could barely understand them. She found her grandfather's eldest brother's son, a man named Okonkwo Jr., who was now the oldest living member of the family. He was 93 years old, blind in one eye and sharp as a freshly cut machete. "You are Papa's granddaughter," he said, studying her face with his good eye. "The one he named Ibionu." "Yes, uncle," she said. "I have come to ask why." Okonkwo Jr. was silent for a long moment. Then he gestured for her to sit on a wooden stool beside his veranda. The night was warm, and the sound of crickets filled the air like 1,000 tiny drums. "Your grandfather was not always a Christian," he said. "In his youth, he was an Onyensia high priest of the old gods. He served the deity known as Agwunsi, the god of fate and misfortune. Agwunisi was a jealous god. He demanded sacrifice. Blood." Ibionu felt her stomach tighten. "What kind of sacrifice?" "Children," Okonkwo Jr. said simply. "Every generation, one child from the family was given to Agwunsi. In exchange, the family prospered. Your grandfather prospered. He had land, wives, yams, all of it. But when he converted to Christianity, the covenant did not break. It only changed." "Changed how?" Okonkwo Jr. leaned closer. His breath smelled of bitter cola and age. Agwunisi demanded an heir, a vessel, someone who would carry the covenant into the next generation. Your father was too strong-willed. Your aunts were too old. So your grandfather chose you. When you were born, he took you to the shrine in the forest, the one that has been standing for 300 years, and he dedicated you to Agwunesi. He gave you the name Ibionu to seal the covenant. Child of sorrow, because you would carry sorrow to others. Ibionu's hands were shaking. But for 25 years, nothing happened. I was lucky. My life was good. The bad luck never touched me. Because the covenant was sleeping, Okonkwo Jr. said. It was tied to your maiden name, to your virginity, to your innocence. But marriage wakes it. Marriage transfers the covenant from the father's bloodline to the husband's. And once it wakes, it must feed. It feeds on the youngest, most innocent blood in the family it joins. Your husband's nieces and nephews. She remembered the children. 7 of them. 7 smiles, 7 small bodies, 7 funerals. She had fed them to an ancient god without even knowing. Can it be broken? She whispered. Okonkwo Jr. shook his head slowly. I have never known anyone to break a covenant with Agwunisi. The god does not forgive. The god does not forget. The only way out is to provide a substitute. A life for a life. What kind of life? A new life, he said. A child conceived in the shadow of the covenant. If you can give Agwunisi something it wants more than blood, a new vessel, a new heir, it might release the others. But that is a gamble. It could make things worse. Much worse. Ibionu stood up. Her legs felt like they were made of water. I need to think. There is no time to think, Okonkwo Jr. said. The covenant has killed 7 children. It will kill 7 more. And then it will kill the adults. And then it will kill you. You are not just the vessel, Ibionu. You are the lock. If you die without breaking the covenant will follow your bloodline forever. Your children, your grandchildren. Every generation will sacrifice to Agunisi until the end of time. She left his hut without saying goodbye. She walked through the dark village, past the sleeping goats and the silent churches, until she reached the edge of the forest. There, barely visible in the moonlight, stood the shrine of Agunsi, a low, circular structure made of red mud and bones. Human bones. Small ones. She fell to her knees and wept. The ritual. Ibionu returned to Lagos 3 days later as promised. But she did not go straight to the Aid Williams compound. Instead, she went to a woman she had heard about in the markets of Ejegana Lababalo, named Mama Kem, who was said to have powers older than the Yoruba gods themselves. Mama Kem lived in a rundown apartment behind a mechanic's workshop. The walls were covered in dark cloth, and the air smelled of palm oil, gunpowder, and something metallic blood, perhaps, or metal. She was a small woman, no taller than a child, with a shaved head and eyes that glowed yellow in the candlelight. "I know why you are here," Mama Kem said before Ibionu could speak. "Agunsi, the child eater. You carry his mark. Can you break it?" Ibionu asked. Mama Kem laughed, a dry, rattling sound like leaves skittering across concrete. "Break it? Child, you cannot break a covenant with an ancient god. But you can redirect it. You can give it what it wants in a way that satisfies its hunger without killing innocence. My uncle said I would need to conceive. A substitute. Your uncle is a fool who has forgotten half the rituals," Mama Kem said sharply. "Conception is part of it. But not just any conception. You must conceive a child whose very existence is a negotiation with Agunisi. A child who will be born with the mark of the covenant on its soul so that the covenant stops looking outward and starts looking inward. It will feed on that child's destiny instead of on the blood of others." Ibionu felt her blood run cold. "You are saying I should sacrifice my own child?" "I am saying you should give Aguni what it truly wants," Mama Kem said. "Not death, not blood, a destiny. The covenant is ancient. It is tired. It has been feeding on death for centuries because no one has offered it anything else. But if you offer it a life that is fully lived, a child who will grow, love, suffer, and triumph, the covenant might accept that as tribute. It might sleep again. Truly sleep. Might? There are no guarantees with gods," Mama Kem said. "But if you do nothing, the children will keep dying. You have seen that. And eventually, the family will kill you. Then the covenant will pass to your husband's bloodline through his marriage to you. It will never end." Ibionu closed her eyes. She thought of Damiilala, the 3-year-old who had only wanted to be held. She thought of the twins, dying within hours of each other. She thought of Yinka, alone in a cold English hospital room, his brain bleeding for reasons no doctor could explain. "Tell me what to do," she said. The night of blood and fire. The ritual took place on the night of the new moon, in the same forest where her grandfather had first dedicated her to Agunsi. Mama Kem came with her, carrying a calabash of dark liquid, a live chicken, and a knife made of obsidian, a black glass that seemed to drink the light. Ibionu stripped to her undergarments. She stood before the shrine of Agunsi, her feet bare on the cold earth. The bones of the children, the ones from her grandfather's time, not the ones she had lost, gleamed in the moonlight. "You must call his name," Mama Kem said. "Agunsi, Agunsi. And then you must offer him a trade." "What trade?" "Your womb," Mama Kem said. "You will offer to carry a child who belongs to him. A child who will be marked by the covenant but free to live. In exchange, he must release the bloodline of your husband. No more nephews, no more nieces, no more innocent blood. And if he refuses..." Mama Kem handed her the obsidian knife. Then you will cut your own throat. Because a dead vessel is useless to him. He will have no choice but to accept the trade. Ibionu took the knife. Her hand did not tremble. She had buried 7 children in 1 year. She had watched mothers tear out their hair in grief. She had heard her name Ibionu, child of sorrow, whispered like a curse in every corner of the Aid Williams compound. She was not afraid to die. She raised the knife to the sky and called out into the darkness. Agunsi, God of fate and misfortune, I, Ibionu, the vessel you have waited for, call you now. Come forth. The wind stopped. The crickets stopped. The world went silent, so silent that Ibionu could hear her own heartbeat. Then 2 heartbeats, then 1,000, as if the forest itself had begun to pulse. The shrine began to glow, not with fire, but with something older, a pale green light that rose from the bones like mist. The light coalesced into a shape, a tall shape, a shape with too many limbs and no face, just a smooth, egg-like head that turned toward Ibionu, with an attention that felt like pressure, like drowning, like falling. You call me, child of sorrow. The voice was not heard. It was felt. It vibrated in her teeth, her spine, the marrow of her bones. I call you to renegotiate, Ibionu said, her voice steady despite the terror flooding her veins. You have taken 7 children from my husband's family. I offer you a new covenant. My womb, I will bear a child who carries your mark, but that child will live, and you will stop killing. No more children from the Aid Williams bloodline. No more sorrow from my name. The faceless head tilted. The green light flickered. You offer 1 life for many? That is not a fair trade, child of sorrow. It is a life that will carry your name into the future, Ibionu said. The children you have taken are forgotten within a generation. But a child who belongs to you, who lives and breathes and walks among the living, that child will be a testament to your power. People will see the mark and remember your name. Isn't that what gods want? To be remembered? The light pulsed. The ground beneath her feet trembled. For a long moment she thought the god would refuse. She thought she would have to use the obsidian knife to end her own life and seal the covenant in blood. Then the light began to fade. The shape of Agu-Nsi dissolved, limb by limb, until only a single point of green light remained, a small, pulsing ember that floated toward her belly and disappeared into her skin. Done. The word was a whisper, a sigh, a door closing. Then the wind returned. The crickets resumed their song. An Ibionu collapsed to the ground, the obsidian knife falling from her hand, her body racked with sobs. Mama Kem picked her up. It is done, the old woman said. The covenant is redirected. No more children will die. But you must go home to your husband. Tonight. And you must conceive. The child must be born within the year, or the god will return to claim what he is owed. The silence. Ibionu returned to Lagos at dawn. She found the Aid Williams compound in chaos. Another child, the 8th, had fallen ill overnight. It was a 2-year-old boy named Ifeanyi, the youngest son of Temilad's second brother. He was burning with a fever that would not break, and the doctors had given him less than 24 hours. But Ibionu knew something the doctors did not. As she walked through the compound gates, she felt the air shift. The pressure that had been building for a year, the invisible weight of the covenant lifted, disappeared, vanished like smoke in the wind. She ran to the hospital wing where Ifeanyi lay. His mother was kneeling beside his bed, praying in a language Ibionu did not recognize. Her child's skin was grey. His breathing was shallow. His eyes were closed. Ibionu pushed past the mother and placed her hand on Ifeanyi's forehead. In the name of the covenant I have broken, she whispered. You are released. The fever broke. Not gradually, But instantly, as if someone had turned off a switch, the grey drained from Ifini's skin, replaced by a healthy pink. His eyes fluttered open. He looked at Ibionu and smiled. "Auntie," he said. The mother screamed. The doctors rushed in. There was chaos and confusion, and for the first time in a year, the sound of laughter. Ibionu slipped out of the room. She found Temilide standing in the hallway, his face a mask of disbelief. "What did you do?" he asked. "I broke a curse," she said. "The children are safe now. All of them. I promise." He did not ask how. He did not ask why. He simply pulled her into his arms and held her, and for the first time in a year, she cried. The child of the covenant. 3 weeks later, Ibionu missed her period. She took a test in the guest house bathroom, her hands shaking so badly she almost dropped the stick. 2 lines. Positive. She had conceived on the night of the ritual. The child of Agun C was already growing inside her. The pregnancy was not easy. She bled in the first trimester. She had nightmares every night, dreams of a faceless figure watching her from the corner of the room. The doctors warned her that the baby might not survive. But Ibionu held on. She ate the bitter herbs Mama Kem gave her. She slept with a piece of obsidian under her pillow. She talked to the child in her womb, telling it stories of the children who had died, the children it had replaced. "You will be different," she whispered. "You will carry the mark, but you will also carry my love. You will not be a sacrifice. You will be a bridge." On a rainy Tuesday in October, 9 months after the ritual, Ibionu gave birth to a son. He was perfect 10 fingers, 10 toes, a shock of black hair, and eyes the color of amber. But on his back, just below his neck, was a birthmark. A small circular mark like a crescent moon eating a star. The mark of Agun C. She named him Chukudi, God is there, not child of sorrow. Not a curse, just a presence. A reminder that the gods are not kind, but they are not always cruel either. The Aid Williams compound slowly healed. The surviving children grew up. Ifini, the boy whose fever had broken under Ibionu's hand, became a doctor. Farouk, the 11-year-old who had written her a poem, became a poet. The mothers stopped wailing. The fathers stopped drinking. And Ibionu, the lady of bad luck, became something else entirely. She became a mother, a wife, a keeper of secrets. And every year, on the anniversary of the ritual, she took her son to the forest in Umudim. She lit a candle at the shrine of Agun C. She poured palm oil on the ground, and she whispered the same words over and over, until the wind carried them away. "I have kept my promise. Keep yours." The children never died again. She broke the covenant, but at what cost? Her son carries the mark of an ancient god. And one day, the god will come to collect. Subscribe for Part 2, The Awakening.